LEGO's biggest Lord of the Rings set, Minas Tirith, has finally been revealed, and there are a bunch of fun Easter eggs, new pieces, and prints that I want to go over in this video. So let's get started first with all of the brand new minifigure stuff. Aragorn here gets a brand new dual molded hair and crown piece. The original prop from the movie is detailed to a level that LEGO was really just never going to be able to pull off on a minifigure. There's too much going on for that small of a crown. From the shading and gilding to the tree of Gondor on the front, again, there's just too much going on for them to fit it all. But with that being said, some gold printing here and there really would have been a big help in making this piece look more accurate, and I'm a little surprised that they didn't go that route. Back in 2014, LEGO did a great job with Thorin Oakenshield's crown with some basic prints, so I don't know. I'll let you be the judge on whether or not this piece was done justice, because I like it, but it definitely could have been better. As for the rest of Aragorn, he's got some pretty sweet looking prints all around. The standout to me with this figure is easily his chest plate. That is the perfect LEGO version of what we see him wearing in the movie, without looking, too overly detailed for the scale of a minifigure. And the same is true for his arms, that show off some of the chainmail and a few more gold bits around the shoulder and wrist. His legs also look appropriate for this look in the last movie, but they aren't too special by any means. Unfortunately, we don't currently know what his torso looks like underneath the armor, but I imagine it's probably going to be depicting this outfit. Back in the original Lord of the Rings theme, we actually got a figure depicting this, so I imagine it's going to be kind of similar, but maybe in black instead of dark blue, which is a kind of strange choice. I like the idea of it being black instead of dark blue, but I gotta wait to see it in person before I make any final judgments. Anyhow, moving on, we now have the other brand new minifigure mold for the set. All of these new Gondor soldiers in the set are stunning and come with the same set of gear. The helmet looks great to me, even though it's a bit wider in the middle than it really should be, but that's understandable given the proportions of a Lego head. Other than that, I've got really no complaints about how these look. Then to go with that helmet, we've got the 4 brand new exclusive prints on the torso, legs, armor, and shield. The shield is probably my favorite piece of this new fig. With the white tree of Gondor on the reinforced wooden shield, it looks really good, and could even work for making a custom LEGO castle faction out of them, but that's for another video. The armor also looks really good with the subtle embossed design of the tree on it. It's simple, but it looks fantastic. I was unsure if LEGO was going to be able to include any prints underneath the armor, but according to one of the designers of the set, these guys all have the same torso as Pippin under their armor, meaning that you can remove and replace all of them with some blank torsos to get another 4 Gondor soldiers out of this set, which is just lovely to see. I am so happy about that. And finally, we've got the legs that show off some of these segmented plates at the top and the chainmail under it. Very simple stuff, but it looks great. A couple of years ago, I actually made my own custom Gondor soldiers for a video, and I'm so glad that LEGO finally made them, and more importantly, made them really nice. Hopefully they put these guys in a cheaper set at some point like they did with the Sauron figure, but I'm not exactly optimistic that they'll do that. Since I've already mentioned him, let's take a quick look at Pippin. This figure looks pretty great overall, mostly because of that new torso print, but it does have a couple of strange choices made within it. First of all, the legs just don't make any sense at all here. I understand that you've got to have Pippin with his dogs out at all times, but the dark blue pants just look so out of place for this outfit. This figure really should have been given a set of black and pale skin legs to match the rest of his outfit. The reuse of the dark blue dual molded piece here just makes no sense, and it kind of kills the figure for me. There's also another kind of strange color choice in this figure with his cape. Most of the shots that we see Pippin wearing this outfit, they have him wearing like a duller green cape, similar to LEGO's own olive green color. So the dark green chosen for this set really just doesn't match how he looks in the movie, at least to me. So with that and the odd leg coloring, I feel as though this is the weakest figure of the set. Anyways, right next to Pippin, we have Denethor and his cherry tomatoes. It's no surprise that LEGO chose to include this Easter egg in the set, as it's one of the more memorable pieces from Return of the King. It's also just such a funny and LEGO thing to do, and I'm glad they included it here. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but we actually get a couple more references to this in the set, but we'll take a look at that later. As for the figure, I think LEGO did a stellar job on it. They decided to depict him in his chainmail and coat, which I'm a little surprised by, as I thought his regular robes would have been a cool choice, but in the end, I think I'm way happier with this version with the chainmail, as it's a bit more visually interesting for a minifigure than the basic robes. His face print is also one of my favorite ones from the set. The slightly raised eyebrow and crow's feet looks identical to the actor, and I think it looks fantastic. Out of all the figures in the set, I think this one and maybe Faramir are the most identical to the actors on screen, and I'm very happy with how they turned out. Next, we have the coronation look for Arwen. This is my favorite of all of her dresses from the movies, and I think the designer did an okay job at making it in Lego. First of all, the face print looks good, but her crown in this scene is laid over both her hair and face. So because they use this old hairpiece from the Rivendell set, we don't get a very accurate finished look. Thankfully though, the torso looks a whole lot better. There aren't a lot of details on her gown apart from the silver around the neck and shoulders, so the printing here looks great and is super accurate to what we see on screen. Though sadly they've left the skirt piece plain, which I think is another bad decision. It would have taken this figure up a notch if they just printed a few lines here and there to kind of suggest a more flowing texture near the bottom and sides of the gown. Overall, I think it's an okay figure, but they kind of really just missed the mark for me overall. There's a few small changes to this and maybe a new mold that would have made this one of my favorites from the set, but as is, I'm just not really a fan. And before we move on, I just have to go back to the hair since it makes no sense for Arwen to have this receded widow's peak hair. Leave this one for Elrond and figure out something else for her because it just doesn't look any good at all and I hate them using this piece for her. It's so bad. I hate it. Anyways, next we have the new Gandalf the White figure. I already really liked the old version of this fig from back in the day, but I don't know, this new one is kinda growing on me. The tan or maybe gold detailing used for his torso and legs looks a little bit stronger than it maybe should. If you look at actual pictures from the movie, his detailing is a lot more subtle and hard to notice than in the new minifigure, but I don't know, it kinda works for me. It might be one of those figures that I have to reserve judgment on until I actually see it in person, since these renders can be kinda deceiving. If you look at the lifestyle images posted on LEGO.com, it seems a bit softer and maybe more accurate to the movie in person, but again, I'm just gonna have to wait and see. And finally, I have saved the best for last. During the original run of the Lord of the Rings LEGO theme, they never made a Faramir minifigure, so we've been waiting to get him for a long time. And in my view, LEGO absolutely smashed it. This fig could not look any better. He looks exactly as he does in the movies, and I have virtually no complaints. The hairpiece that they used here is so good, and I'm just blown away by how good this one turned out because I wasn't sure they were going to be able to nail it. If I had to dig around to find a complaint, I think the only thing I could come up with is he should have had one of those new swords from the Rivendell set. For some reason, they went back to the old Lord of the Rings swords from 2011, and these just look kinda dated compared to the ones that they just made in 2023. It's sad that they retired that sword pack, and I'll never understand why they did that. Okay, and now with the figures all done, let's take a look at the fun little details and Easter eggs I found in the build. Around the back of the set, you get the minifigure scale interior of Minas Tirith's Hall of Kings. Inside of here, we can find a few cool details like two statues of the former kings of Gondor. They look, exactly like they do in the movie, down to the reuse of Aragorn's hair and crown mold in plain white. They look really good, and I love the little kind of decorative square tiles underneath the statues. It looks fantastic. And it was so clever of them to reuse that piece in plain white because it really just adds to the kind of atmosphere and looks exactly out of the movie. You also get a little bit of the mosaic tile flooring that you can just barely make out in a few of these shots from Return of the King. They're very hard to see in the movie, and I honestly didn't even know about it until seeing it in the LEGO set. The fact that they were able to capture that in the set with this wacky scale is super impressive, and I'm so glad it was included here. And of course, we get another reference to the tomato scene with a table. They even tried to do the marbled black and white look that is accurate enough to the one from the movie. It's not perfect, but at this scale, it's kinda all you can get. If we look up towards the domed ceiling, you can find these gold seashell Lego pieces that do a wonderful job at shaping the interior, which you can also see here compared to a shot from the movie. It is almost 1-to-1. I cannot believe they did this well. Seriously, this is the best interior that we've ever gotten from a Lord of the Rings Lego set, if you ask me. It looks so good, and it kind of puts the Rivendell interior to shame, especially with how easy it is to see all of this. It's pretty much everything you could ever want from a Hall of Kings. It's all here, and it looks fantastic. Now for the best part, and what I am most excited for about this build, is that it uses 0 stickers in the entire set. For the past few years, the Lord of the Rings theme has relied heavily on stickered elements, which frankly is just not something you want to see in sets that cost as much as these do. Again, this is going to be $650 US, so I don't want stickers in a set that expensive, I'm sorry. It's a great change to see, and we also get a few more printed tiles in some of the other interior rooms. Like in this room where we can see Gandalf researching in Fellowship of the Ring. Obviously the outfit's wrong, but you can change the minifigure very easily. Inside of that room, you get one of the documents that he was looking through in Fellowship of the Ring, and it's printed, which again is great to see, because if this was a stickered piece, you would not be able to place it in a minifigure's hand without damaging it. It's happened to me before where I've placed a stickered tile into a minifigure's hand, and it has kind of like scratched up the surface of the sticker. It's not fun to see, and again, especially in these expensive sets, I don't want to see stickers. The other room looks even better, and as compact as it is, still make sure to include the pitcher of water, a dresser, and a bed. All of this is very accurate to the movie, especially with the tiny balcony where you can stage the scene between Pippin and Gandalf. Which, speaking of, you also get a printed Palantir in a tiny side section of the build, so you can combine that together with the water pitcher to recreate another scene from Return of the King. I love that they included all of this here because even though this isn't a playset, it kind of still gives you the suggestion of something that you could set up and take pictures of. It's pretty fun, and I like that they have it here. It's also just a good Easter egg. Anyways, moving away from the interiors, let's take a look at the main selling point for this set, the outside of Minas Tirith. Right away, it's obvious that they've mixed a few different building scales into this castle. The front gate and outer walls are done in a minifigure scale, meaning you can place minifigures on the battlements and in the inner courtyard, and they'll look a bit more natural looking. Then as you go up each layer of the castle, the scale will get smaller and smaller. This gives the build a forced perspective that was honestly needed to make this recognizable as Minas Tirith, without needing like 150,000 pieces to make the set look recognizable. Again, the real triumph of this build is all of the various microscale houses and buildings that make good use of some printed window tiles and grill pieces to look like pillars, and again, those arched windows that we see in the movie. Now, I'm generally not a big fan of microscale LEGO sets, but this one is just so well done with the forced perspective tech that I'm quite honestly just blown away by what the designers were able to pull off with this set. The fact that they were also able to give you a little bit of minifigure scale action with the outer wall and the interior while also making the microscale castle fit into the same set, it's all just really impressive. The rockwork nose of the build also sticks out perfectly and frames the build so well. Of course, you do get the courtyard with the White Tree of Gondor up there. It's only a few pieces, but again, the scale isn't for minifigures, but I think you can get away with placing a figure 2 up there. LEGO's even included a picture of the coronation with Arwen holding the Gondor banner, which, by the way, is one of the most beautiful looking LEGO fabrics ever made. I love it. I love it so much. I will absolutely be stealing this piece from the set to use in some custom castle mocks, but that's for another video. I think it looks great. The White Tree of Gondor and the pool under it is maybe a little funny looking from up top, but I think from the main viewing angle, it looks really good. Like I just said, you do get a bit of minifigure scale stuff on the outer walls. You've got a little armory on this side with a place for Shadowfax to drink water from, and a tiny, tiny walkway for Faramir and a soldier to watch from. It's not much, but I'm glad they included it. The other side is a bit more lively looking, with a stall of produce for Denethor to grab his cherry tomatoes, and you've also got this super cute little build with some hay inside of it. I love this little wheelbarrow, and I'm definitely going to be trying to make this for some of my own medieval builds. It's such a good scale, and I think it looks really good with minifigures. I imagine this whole section on screen is going to be one of the more fun parts of the set to build, and probably is going to be one of the very first bags of the set, if I had to guess. One more Easter egg that I was able to glean from the pictures is this little hint towards Denethor's death, with a little closet filled with wood and a torch-wielding Denethor. It's a pretty subtle reference to the scene from the movie, and I'm not surprised they didn't do anything more with it, because it's kinda dark if you think about it, but I don't know, I'm glad it's here all the same. Now, with the main set covered, we also have the gift with purchase that will be available for the first week of this set's release. I feel like this video would have been incomplete without at least mentioning this addition to the set. Should this have been included with the set already without the FOMO marketing? Yeah, of course it should have, but I'm going to reserve that judgment for the actual review of this set later next month. The build honestly looks quite good. The wolf design is shockingly well done, as most of the time these gift with purchases can feel, I don't know, a bit lacking. This one, however, is done beautifully. The scale matches the outer wall and looks great outside of the castle. I've seen some people complaining that the Grand is too small, but I think we gotta remember this is a microscale Minas Tirith, and I think it just makes more sense for it to be this small for the set. I don't know, I'm happy with how it looks. The fact that you also get 2 orcs with it is really nice to see, and it makes me sad that this isn't just a regular retail set for like 25 to 30 bucks. But again, I'll wait for my review to get into that whole discussion. And that's pretty much all I've got for you today. I hope you learned at least one thing about this set that you didn't already know from this video, as I tried my best to make this as detailed as possible. I'll leave a link in the description to the media packet that I used to make this video, so that you can get all the full quality HD images directly from LEGO. If you couldn't already tell, I'm very excited for this set, and I have a lot more to say about it, both good and bad, so if you want to see my non-sponsored and regular fellow review of this set, make sure you're subscribed. A big thank you goes out to my channel members Gyojo, Faisal, Rio Bricks, Walkdermeister, Ryzen Covers, Peter, Daventria Bricks, Space Marine 5869, Nimble Saucepan, The Squad Up Kid, Captain Color, Binz Yuen, and all of my other members for supporting the channel. And as always, thank you all so much for watching.